On February 4, 2010, a family residing in Fallbrook, California, disappeared from their residence and remained missing for 3 years until their remains were discovered. The family's business partner was responsible for their deaths, driven by a desire for financial gain. Joseph McStay and his wife, Summer McStay, lived in Fallbrook, California, with their 2 sons, 4-year-old Gianni and 3-year-old Joseph Jr. Joseph was the owner of a company, Earth-Inspired Products, that used to design customized indoor waterfalls, while Summer worked as a real estate agent. On February 4, 2010, Joseph spoke to his father, Patrick McStay, and informed him about attending a lunch meeting. Summer was busy with household chores and spoke with their sister around 5:40 p.m. The family was not heard or seen thereafter. On February 13, 2010, Michael McStay arrived at his brother Joseph's house, and it had been 9 days since anyone heard from Joseph, his wife, and their 2 young boys. Calls and texts had gone unanswered. Michael hadn't visited his brother's new house, where Joseph had recently moved. To locate it, Michael asked for help from Joseph's business partner, Charles Chase Merritt. Charles had been the last person to talk to Joseph and noticed his lack of response. Charles and Michael entered through an open window at the back of the home. The dogs were in the backyard, but he didn't find any family members. On February 15, 2010, Michael called the San Diego County Sheriff's Department, SDSD, and filed a missing complaint against the McStay family. And on February 19, 2010, a search warrant was issued, and investigators searched the home. They didn't find any signs of forced entry or violence. Only a carton of eggs was left on the counter in the kitchen, and 2 child-sized bowls of popcorn were found on a sofa. One of the cushion covers was missing from the sofa. Apart from that, everything seemed normal. The investigators interviewed people and verified the phone records of the McStay family. The phone records showed that Joseph's last call was made to his business associate, Charles Merritt, at around 8:28 p.m. on the day of the family's disappearance. However, the call went to voicemail. During interrogations, Charles told police that he ignored the voicemail because he was watching a movie at that time. He further stated, "I talked to him at least twice on his way home. He may have been stopping to get food, I don't remember, but he was going home." The investigators then focused on the family's car, a white 1996 Isuzu Trooper. They checked the neighbor's security surveillance. The camera captured the bottom of a random vehicle around 7:47 p.m. when the family disappeared. The car was assumed to be McStay's Isuzu Trooper, but no driver or passenger was seen inside it. The investigation revealed that on February 8, 2010, around 11 p.m., the family's car was pulled from Strip Mall's parking area situated in San Ysidro, San Diego, near the Mexican border. Security guards informed them that the car might have been parked there between 5:30 and 7 p.m. The car had no signs of struggle, blood, or any suspicious items, and was sent for DNA testing, but no clues were found to solve the mystery. The investigators presumed that the family might have gone to Mexico, as searches about Mexico in Spanish tutorials were found on Summer's computer. On February 19, 2010, California police informed Interpol, the International Criminal Police Organization, to look for the family in the Mexican region. In March 2010, the investigators came across surveillance footage of the pedestrian gate that headed toward Mexico. They discovered a man walking with a small child toward the Tijuana border, followed closely by a woman holding hands with another child. The group resembled the McStays, causing investigators to suspect that the family had traveled to Mexico. However, relatives of the McStays stated that Joseph and Summer used to avoid country travels because of the safety threat increased by recent drug wars. It was also revealed that the McStays had more than $100,000 in bank accounts, with no withdrawal of funds in preparation for a trip. The credit cards were also not used after their disappearance. Summer's sister stated that her passport had expired. Summer's ex-boyfriend and Joseph's business associate, Charles Merritt, were initially thought to be suspects, but as interrogations didn't reveal anything, they were later cleared as suspects. The FBI took over the case in April 2010, but no evidence was found for over 3 years. In April 2013, the San Diego Sheriff's Department announced that according to the evidence found till date, the McStays traveled to Mexico voluntarily without informing anyone. On November 11, 2013, a motorcyclist found 4 human remains that were buried in 2 shallow graves in the Mojave Desert in Victorville, California, about 100 miles from the McStays' home. He immediately called the police. Joseph McStay's remains were discovered wrapped in the missing white cushion cover from the house. He was bound by a red tie-down belt and an extension wire knotted around his neck. Summer's clothes were taken off and found near her head in the grave. The body of the 3-year-old Joseph Jr. had mostly been taken by animals, leaving behind 3 bones, 4 fragments, and the top of his skull spotted by bluth. The investigators also discovered a child's backpack and a pull-up diaper. The remains were sent for DNA testing, and it was confirmed that they belonged to the McStays. A 3-pound hammer tool was also found along the graves, which was considered to be the murder weapon. The case transformed from missing family inquiry to a criminal investigation under the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department. Investigators examined the McStays' car again. This time, DNA was discovered on the steering and gear shift. After getting tested, it was confirmed that the DNA belonged to Charles Murde, Joseph's business associate and initial suspect in the case. Patrick McStay became increasingly suspicious of Charles in January 2014. Charles claimed to write a book about the family, with a detail on the ruined relationship between Joseph and Summer. Joseph suspected Summer of poisoning him, causing an undiagnosed illness before his disappearance. Patrick was aware of his son's mysterious illness, but found Charles' accusations strange. During a previous interview with investigators,
"You have interviewed Chase Merritt."
Yeah, for our documentary that we did for CNN. I mean, he was one of the key people that we interviewed, never, of course, suspecting that he may have been involved. And of course, we don't know that yet. But
he was a friend. I mean, he was Joseph's
a friend. He was a business partner, and he was one of the, as far as we know, the last person possibly to see him on the day that the family disappeared.
Charles explained his 3-year connection with Joseph as business partners, who later became good friends. Charles was the creative mind behind their company, while Joseph managed the business and sales. As investigators re-examined transcripts of Charles' interviews, something caught their attention. Despite passing a lie detector test back in February 2010, his choice of words raised concerns.
When he left Rancho Cucamonga, nobody else, although I think there's another person or two that he talked to, I'm not sure.
Charles spoke in the past tense, referring to Joseph as, "was my best friend." During the interrogations, Charles confessed to being with Joseph. For more than an hour on the day the McStay family went missing. He also said that he had passed a polygraph test and didn't have any further information. Charles had a history of robbery and receiving stolen property. The investigations revealed that he was facing severe financial trouble because of a gambling addiction. Checks amounting more than $21,000 from Joseph's business account were issued by Charles after his disappearance. Investigators believe that Charles killed the family at their home, drove them to the Mojave Desert, buried them, and then left the family's vehicle to San Ysidro.
Sources are revealing new details to us about the desert crime scene where the bodies of the McStay family from Fallbrook were discovered.
It was also suspected that it was Charles who carried out the Mexico-related searches on Summer's computer to mislead the investigation. His phone records traced him to the place where the family's remains were discovered. On November 5, 2014, Charles was arrested for the 4 counts of murder.
This is video of former business partner Chase Merritt after his arrest Wednesday in LA County. He's facing murder charges in all 4 deaths, what detectives call a cold and calculating murder of an entire family.
His trial got delayed as he had repeatedly suspended his attorneys or attempted to represent himself.
It was like a comedy of errors here in San Bernardino County Court, but nobody was laughing. 5 years after the disappearance and murder of the McStay family, another delay.
The trial finally started on January 7, 2019, in a San Bernardino court, with both sides making opening statements. On June 10, 2019, the jury found Charles guilty of murdering the McStay family.
The man convicted of killing a California family learns his fate. His sentencing comes nearly a decade after their death in a case that gripped the nation.
He received a life sentence for murdering Joseph and was given the death penalty for murdering Summer, Gianni, and Joseph Jr. Charles was sentenced to death on January 21, 2020.
California man is sentenced to death in what's widely known as the McStay family murders.
I'm not posturing from attorneys or anything else is going to change the facts. And the facts are he's guilty, and that's it.
During the sentencing, Joseph's mother confronted Charles and tagged him as a despicable, evil monster.